I decided to come back on here and talk a little bit about the Shroud of Turin. There's some misperceptions about it that I just want to clear up with people. You know, I wrote in my book all about it and discovered some things about it that I discussed with Dr. Petrasoons in how the image was formed and all of that, and many other things. But this I just want to share with people. Shroud of Turin has a history that does go back to Jerusalem and at least to Constantinople. When Constantinople was taken over, the Muslims invaded, the Crusades happened, the battles against each other. The Hagia Sophia Church housed many things from Jerusalem that had been preserved. It was not originally in the hands of the Roman Catholic Church. Now, people just automatically assume that since the Roman Catholic Church has control of it now, that it was always in their control. But that's not the history. It is not a Roman Catholic relic. Hagia Sophia Church in Constantinople, where many of the relics that were taken from Jerusalem and housed there, it's a massive church. And the Muslims came in and took it over and Islamicized it, which it's still that way today. And then they covered over all of the Christian paintings that had been put on the walls, which within the last few years they've kind of unearthed some of those paintings that are behind, that were painted over. So they were able to peel back the layers of the paint. But that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the shroud. We have documentation that the shroud was there back when these invasions happened. These relics were captured by crusaders that came in, and they carried them off to places like France and Venice and Italy. You know, they went different directions when people took different elements of Christ's passion. Dove just went soaring over my head, calling out. Precious girl, she just landed. The second thing I want to mention is that there is real blood on the shroud, and it has been analyzed to be real blood. Many of you probably do not know this, that the image of the shroud is only on the very top layer of the fibers. And in each of those fibers where the image is 1/10 the size of a human hair. Where the image is 1/10. So you would need an atomic paintbrush to ever be able to paint something that fine. And such a thing does not exist. Simon Peter and his brother Andrew would have had the relics, and Andrew went to the area and region that was Constantinople. And there was a Church of the Apostles that was first there where the relics were originally housed. But when the Roman Catholic Church came in and made Constantinople their second capital of Rome, basically Rome was the capital, and then they took that over. They came in and took the relics that were in, put them in this huge church. And the church is so big, you can they literally rode horses inside the church when this invasion happened. And it was a massacre that happened there. All these relics were taken to different countries. So that's how the shroud wound up in Italy. There was a king that had control. There was Baldwin II, Abgar. I'm trying to remember all the history in my head, but it was in a royal family for a long time, and then when that person died, they left it to somebody else. So there's a big history of it. As I was investigating the shroud myself, I came to the realization from different things I found out from different people that there really is a cover-up that goes on where nobody's really ever allowed to really investigate the shroud. And then the original STURP team that went to investigate it, they were told they only had, they were supposed to have a week to analyze it. And they originally only spent, I can't remember how many hours. It was only like a day or 2 days or something that they actually had to investigate it. So they had to work through the night and do all of this because of the Catholic Church put a damper on it. One of the gentlemen that was the top botanist in Israel that's since passed away, he analyzed some of the plant silhouettes or whatever they found on the fabric. And there were people who just would not believe this expert. And he was given a hard time. There's just a lot that's happened, and I believe that there's some people who are, now I know for a fact, saying that this mystery will never be solved. And I knew in my heart, no, that's not right. It has been solved. And I solved some things in my book about it. And Dr. Petrossoons loved my book, gave it a 5-star review, and really believed, you know, in my opinion as to how the image came onto the shroud, for one. But there's more to it, and some of it's in my book, and some of it I'm still working on. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. You see this, and you've analyzed it, and you've studied it, and you know there's more to it that points to the truth, then there's just no denying it. So I just thought I'd clarify that. Today is April 20th, 2019, during Passover week. One of the neat miracles that the Lord brought while I was working on the book, where He revealed Himself to me in so many ways, and they are all proven with Scripture. They're so honest and forthright, there's no way you can deny them. But the Lord brought a special buck deer into our yard when my mom was here and she was alive, and she loved Bambi. She loved all the little fawns and things. That was her love. I was at the computer working on my book, and I got up from the desk, and it was about time for me to fix dinner. And I went to the kitchen, and I wasn't looking out there's a kitchen window. I wasn't looking out the window. I just kind of got out some spinach, and I'm sitting there slowly washing each leaf, looking down and washing away. And finally, at one point, I looked up, and straight across from the kitchen window, sitting on the lawn in an area that was kind of protected by trees and a little hill, was this buck deer with huge fuzzy antlers. And he was just resting with his legs curled up. And he looked so comfortable. And I wanted to scream to my mom, "Mom! There's a deer outside!" This is something that we didn't have before. You know, a buck deer like that. And it was very unusual for it to be sitting. I've got some more stories about it in my book, and it's kind of a long story, but anyway, my mom came in there and she was thrilled. So we would just get these visitations from this deer. There's a whole big story I have in my book about how this deer just came at the time of Tu B'Shvat, just until I planted these cedars of Lebanon that were a miracle. That's another miracle story. But he went and sat under the olive trees and watched me. And then when I went inside after I finished, I looked out the window and I looked down and I saw him disappear by my garden. In my book, I talk about how I miraculously got these cedar of Lebanon seeds. They were at the door when I came home. I found the package, opened them up. There's a whole really neat story about it. But when I came in the house, I looked out the family room windows, and there was the deer again. Now this time his antlers, the fuzz had dropped off, and they were hard antlers, but it was the same deer. And he was just by himself. And he was so majestic and so beautiful. I would come out and he would literally be out here in the yard standing here with me. And I would talk to him, and I named him the Little Prince because he looked so regal and royal, like a majestic deer that represented the Lord. So there's more to the story. There's several offshoots of the story of this deer. And I just kind of wanted to show you in this video at Passover some pictures of him that I took, video clips. Now, I didn't have my better camera at the time, but, you know, I got the pictures that I got, and he came for quite a few years. So anyway, this is my book, The Almond Tree, Aaron's Rod, the Messiah, King of Israel. And I dedicated my whole life for 8 years to the writing of this book. And this is not just any other book. This is divine revelation. It's the unveiling of Yeshua HaMashiach of Nazareth in such a way that it is going to change the world. It's the dog next door. Well, he's got the biggest rack of antlers. Yeah, couple of them actually. And the rabbits were playing with the deer the other day, and the dove interacts with the deer too. It's pretty amazing. so this box came, the cedar of Lebanon, was the time of Tu B'Shvat, time to plant them, and the deer, when I came in, I went to the front door, found the package, went to the back, where the window is, and there he was sitting underneath the tree that I build my sukkah under for the Feast of Tabernacles. And he was just resting there. So that picture wound up being in the center of the back cover of my book, like right in the middle. And that's when his antlers were hard. But he would just always come, and just so peaceful and beautiful. So that was one of the miracles that God brought us. And in 2009, the Lord also brought this pure, not like the doves you've seen in my videos, but on the back cover of my book, you'll see a pure white, and it's snow white dove. And it stayed for 2 days, and it went up and sat on the peak of the roof. It was down on the ground walking around, and it was a tame bird. It had a little band on its leg. Probably somebody released it or something with a group of birds. But it stayed in our yard, and I got pictures of it. I was able to go up like maybe 10 feet from it and photograph it. I took numerous pictures of it. So that picture wound up on the back cover of my book. And there's just a lot more I could say. But if you think that the shroud isn't real, it is real. Because that image just being on the top fibers and being each fiber is 1/10 the size of a human hair, only God could have made that image. So, like I said, it's not left for the image to be worshipped. It's left to remind us, just like a family member, I have pictures of my mom, that I have in frames, but I don't worship her. But I just look at it and I remember her. And that's what the whole point is with the shroud. So I wanted to explain a few of these things. And I wanted to show you the little prince that's in my book and put a couple of clips of him in here. And he would come when we had lots of snow. I got beautiful pictures of him with his hard antlers in the snowstorm, walking through the snow. And sometimes he was here in spring. One time his antlers had broken off and new ones were coming up. And, it just was a truly beautiful miracle that's in my book. So, and those of you who've bought my book and understand how incredible it is and have told me it's incredible, I know, because it came from the Holy Spirit. And I put everything I had into it, and all my love for the Lord into it. So, anyway, I wanted to tell this little story and explain a few things about the shroud. I also wanted to mention the bobcat that we had come, and my mom spotted a bobcat out the window, and she said, "I think that cat way over there is bigger than a tomcat." So I snuck out, went walking down the side of the yard, and lo and behold, I got up pretty close, and it was a bobcat. And I got the most awesome pictures of this bobcat. He didn't really seem to be bothered by me at all. He didn't focus on jumping on me or anything. And I kind of followed him around. I got videos that I made of the close-up pictures I took of him. And he was also taking a nap in the yard on a couple of occasions, just resting and enjoying himself. And anyway, I have videos of the bobcat. If you go back and look at some of my videos, you'll find those. And, I was looking for any biblical meaning of the bobcat and found out that the official name of the bobcat is Rufus, and that Rufus was the one of Simon and Cyrene that carried Jesus's cross. And, well, you'll have to go back and watch that video because I told you what it meant. And it was something significant. So, anyway, I just wanted to share that. And that was another blessing my mom and I saw. And just so many beautiful gifts the Lord's given us. I wanted to mention one more thing about the shroud, and that is the fact that the piece of cloth that the Roman Catholic Church allowed them to take was a piece that was later stitched onto the cloth in the Middle Ages. So they never actually got a sample from the actual shroud itself. It was from a piece that was added on. So when they did a carbon dating, that carbon dating was dated to the Middle Ages. So most people don't know that, you know, if you haven't studied about it. So there's definitely an attempt to prevent the truth from being shown. So that's all I'm going to say about it.
Day to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Kimberly, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Kimberly, happy birthday to you. May God bless you, bless you. May God bless you. May God bless Kimberly. May God bless you. Yay! You are so sweet. You are so sweet. I love you, dear Kimberly. You're precious to my heart. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to